Captain Vex Korath watched the dying embers of Earth flicker across the view screen of the Deep Space Monitoring Station Meridian's Eye. Where once a blue marble had spun peacefully in the void, now only radioactive slag remained. Its surface, a patchwork of molten scars that pulsed like infected wounds against the cosmic dark. The hegemony had been thorough. 17 fusion bombs, each one capable of cracking continents. They'd struck simultaneously. New Geneva, Neo-Tokyo, the Martian colonies, even the hidden research facilities in the asteroid belt. Humanity's greatest cities had become funeral pyres in the span of 6 minutes. "Sir!" Lieutenant Caney Voss's voice cracked as he turned from his console. I'm reading no life signs, none at all." The bridge fell silent except for the steady thrum of life support systems. Korath's hands gripped the command chair's armrests until his knuckles went white. He'd served in the Colonial Navy for 37 years, survived 3 wars, and lost more friends than he cared to count. But this was genocide on a scale that defied comprehension. "What about the outer colonies?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Glassed, sir. All of them. The hegemony hit us simultaneously across 17 systems. They coordinated this for months, maybe years." Voss pulled up tactical displays showing the aftermath, debris fields where orbital stations had been, silent emergency beacons that would never be answered. The hegemony's message had arrived 3 hours after the bombardment. Ambassador Keth Moran's serpentine form had appeared on every surviving human frequency. His scaled features twisted in what passed for a smile among his species. "Humans," the recording began, "your expansion ends here. You have been classified as a Category 7 threat to galactic stability. Your species' aggressive nature and rapid technological advancement posed an unacceptable risk to the established order. This action was regretfully necessary. 16 billion souls reduced to ash and radiation, and they called it regretfully necessary." Korath stood slowly, his weathered face set in stone. "Signal the Night's Edge and the Starfall. Full retreat to the Omega Protocols." "Sir?" Voss looked confused. "Those ships were destroyed in the first wave. The entire battle fleet? Not all of it." Korath moved to the security console and placed his palm against the biometric scanner. A hidden panel slid away, revealing a single red key. "Authorization Korath 77 Alpha. Activate Project Nemesis." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Project Nemesis was a myth, a whispered legend among the higher echelons of naval intelligence. Some said it was humanity's ultimate weapon, kept secret for a war that might never come. Others claimed it was just propaganda, designed to keep potential enemies guessing. "Sir, Project Nemesis doesn't... It exists." Korath turned the key. Deep in the station's core, quantum encryption barriers dissolved, revealing files that had been locked away for decades. And it's been waiting. The tactical display shifted, showing a sector of space that officially didn't exist, hidden in the shadow of a rogue planet, invisible to all but the most sophisticated sensors, hung a ship unlike anything in humanity's known arsenal. It was a void in space itself, darker than the cosmic background, its hull absorbing light so completely that it seemed to bend reality around it. "The Thanatos," Korath whispered. "They wanted to see what humanity could do when pushed to the brink. They're about to find out." In the absolute darkness between stars, the Thanatos stirred to life. Captain Zara Nightingale opened her eyes to the soft hum of activation protocols. Cryogenic frost still clung to her skin as the pod's lid hissed open, releasing her into the ship's dim command center. Around her, 17 other pods began their own awakening sequences. The cream of humanity's military and scientific elite, hand-picked for this moment. Her hands moved automatically to the neural interface ports behind. Her ears, muscle memory from years of training taking over even as her conscious mind struggled to process where she was. The ship's AI, codenamed Reaper, flooded her awareness with status reports and tactical data. Earth status, terminated. Human population, 98.7% casualty rate. Mission parameters, active. Welcome back, Captain. The memories hit her like a physical blow. The hegemony's ultimatum, the failed negotiations, the decision to activate humanity's final contingency. She and her crew had volunteered to sleep in the void, waiting for a signal that she'd hoped would never come. "Status report," she croaked, her voice still rough from the long sleep. Commander Rylan Vex, no relation to the monitoring station captain, pulled himself from his pod nearby. "Ship systems at full operational capacity. The exotic matter containment field is stable. Dark energy collectors are online and charging the primary weapon systems." Dr. Ilara Mendez, the ship's chief scientist, was already at her station, despite having awakened only moments before. The neural interface allowed her to process information at superhuman speeds. Her consciousness partially merged with the ship's vast computational matrix. The stellar cartography databases are updating now. Hegemony fleet positions, population centers, industrial worlds, all confirmed through quantum surveillance drones. Nightingale moved to the command throne, a chair that looked more like an alien artifact than human technology. As she settled into it, thousands of neural connections established themselves, linking her directly to every system aboard the Thanatos. The ship became an extension of her will, its vast power hers to command. "How many worlds?" she asked. 47 inhabited systems under direct hegemony control. 212 colony worlds. Approximately 900 billion sentients across 12 allied species. Mendez's voice was clinical, but Nightingale could sense the underlying emotion through their shared neural link. "The Kethmoran homeworld has a population of 14 billion, the same number they'd killed on Earth alone." Nightingale closed her eyes and felt the ship around her, a weapon forged in humanity's deepest black sites, powered by technologies that pushed the boundaries of physics itself. Dark matter manipulation. Controlled singularities. Stellar engineering on a scale that would have seemed impossible just decades before. Reaper. Display the hegemony's response to Earth's destruction. The main view screen shimmered, showing footage from across hegemony. Space. Celebrations in the capital cities. Triumphant speeches from military leaders. Children playing with toys that depicted burning human ships. They weren't just satisfied with genocide. They were reveling in it. They wanted to see what happens when you corner humanity. Nightingale said softly. "Now they get to learn." She opened her eyes, and through the neural link, her crew felt her resolve like a cold fire in their minds. "Helm, set course for the Kethmoran system. Maximum stealth protocols. It's time for the hegemony to understand what they've awakened." The Thanatos began to move, a shadow passing between stars, invisible to every sensor the galaxy possessed. Behind it, space itself seemed to ripple and bend, reality straining under the weight of the terrible purpose it carried. The hunt had begun. The Kethmoran home system pulsed with the light of victory celebrations. Orbital platforms blazed with illumination, their surfaces covered in massive displays showing the destruction of Earth over and over again. Military parades wound through the capital cities of 3 worlds, while the system's twin suns seemed to shine brighter in reflection of their people's triumph. None of them detected the shadow that slipped past their outer sensor nets. The Thanatos existed in a state of controlled unreality, its experimental metacortex drive allowing it to phase, partially out of normal space-time. To the hegemony's instruments, it was nothing more than a minor gravitational anomaly, a bit of dark matter perhaps, or quantum foam fluctuations in the cosmic background. "Passive scans complete," reported Lieutenant Cale Torvin from the sensor station. Through the neural link, the crew shared his findings: defensive positions, fleet strengths, civilian population densities. The hegemony had grown complacent in their victory. Their home system's defenses were designed to repel conventional attacks, not the nightmare that now stalked them from the void. Captain Nightingale felt the ship's hunger through the neural interface. The Thanatos had been designed as more than a weapon. It was an entity unto itself, a fusion of human consciousness and dark technology that bordered on the supernatural. It wanted to feed, to justify its existence through acts of cosmic retribution. Soon, she promised it. But we do this right. Dr. Mendez, what's the status on the stellar resonance calculations? The scientist's fingers danced across holographic displays, her enhanced mind processing equations that would have required supercomputers to solve. The Keth-Moran binary system is surprisingly stable. Both stars are main sequence with synchronized magnetic field oscillations. If we can induce a cascade resonance in their core fusion reactions— She paused, the implications of her own words sinking in. Complete stellar collapse. Nightingale finished. Both suns go nova simultaneously. The entire system becomes uninhabitable in a matter of hours. The energy release would be unprecedented. Even planets in neighboring systems would face severe radiation bombardment. Mendez's voice carried a note of scientific fascination mixed with horror. It would be visible from 1,000 light-years away. Commander Vex leaned forward in his station. Captain, the civilian population. There are children down there, innocents who had nothing to do with— They cheered. Nightingale's mental voice cut across the neural link like a blade. Through the ship's sensors, she could see the celebrations continuing below. Parades celebrating humanity's extinction, monuments being erected to commemorate their great victory. They watched. Our worlds burn, and they cheered, every single one of them complicit in genocide. The crew felt her pain through the link, not just her own loss, but the accumulated grief of their entire species. Parents who would never see their children again, art and music and literature that had been vaporized along with the worlds that created them. 16 billion futures snuffed out because humanity had been deemed too dangerous to exist. Begin the stellar resonance sequence, she commanded. Target both stars simultaneously. I want their suns to die exactly as our worlds did, without warning, without mercy, and with perfect efficiency. Deep in the ship's core, the dark matter manipulation chambers hummed to life. Energy patterns that existed at the very edge of physical law began to form, reality bending around forces that should not have been possible to contain. The Thanatos was more than a ship. It was a direct application of technologies humanity had developed in their deepest, most classified research programs. Technologies that made them a Category 7 threat to galactic stability. The hegemony was about to learn why. Resonance pattern established, Torvin reported. We can trigger the cascade from here without being detected. The stellar cores will achieve critical instability in approximately 6 hours. 6 hours, Nightingale repeated. Enough time for them to understand what's happening, but not enough to evacuate, not enough to run. She opened a channel on all hegemony frequencies. Attention, Keth-Moran High Command. This is Captain Zara, Nightingale of the Terran vessel Thanatos. You declared humanity extinct. You were mistaken. In 6 hours, your sons will die. Consider this a courtesy warning, the same courtesy you showed Earth. The transmission ended. Across the system, celebration turned to panic as the hegemony's finest scientists began to detect the subtle changes in their star's behavior. But it was already too late. The Thanatos melted back into the void, leaving behind only quantum echoes and the slow, inexorable countdown to stellar death. The first signs appeared exactly as Dr. Mendez had calculated. Solar flares erupted from both Keth-Moran's suns simultaneously, their magnetic fields writhing in patterns that defied natural explanation. On the system's 3 inhabited worlds, Emergency broadcasts replaced victory celebrations as Aurora Borealis painted alien skies in shades of violent crimson. Aboard the Thanatos, now lurking at the system's edge, the crew watched their weapons, terrible precision unfold. Through quantum-entangled observation posts, they witnessed panic spreading across the hegemony homeworlds like a plague. "Evacuation fleets are launching," reported Torvin, his voice tight with an emotion he couldn't quite name. "They're trying to get their population to the outer colonies." Captain Nightingale felt the ship's satisfaction through the neural link. The Thanatos had been designed to hunt prey across impossible distances, to strike from shadows and vanish before retaliation became possible. But more than that, it had been built to ensure that humanity's enemies understood the cost of extinction. "How many ships?" she asked. 3,000 civilian transports, maybe 4,000 military escorts. They can evacuate perhaps 10% of the population before. Torvin gestured at the tactical display, where both suns pulsed with increasing instability. 10%. The same percentage of humanity that had survived the hegemony's assault. Scattered survivors in deep space stations and hidden colonies. All that remained of a species that had once dreamed of touching every star in the galaxy. "Captain, Commander," Vex spoke carefully. "We could let them go. The civilian transports. Our quarrel is with their military, their government, not their children." Through the neural link, Nightingale felt her crew's conflicted emotions. They were soldiers, trained to follow orders and complete missions. But they were also human, carrying the moral weight of their species' last act of war. Some part of them still hoped they could find a path that didn't lead to complete annihilation. "Show me Earth," she said quietly. The main display shifted to long-range sensors focused on humanity's former homeworld. The radiation signatures were still visible, continent-sized scars where fusion bombs had boiled oceans and melted bedrock. In some areas, the temperature was still climbing as nuclear fires consumed everything that had once lived. "Show me New Geneva. Show me the Tokyo Arcology. Show me the children's hospitals on Mars." Each image was the same: total devastation. Perfect sterilization. The hegemony hadn't just targeted military installations or government centers. They had systematically eliminated every trace of human civilization, down to the smallest research outposts and colonial settlements. Genocide, in its purest form. "They had a choice," Nightingale said finally. "Every species in their alliance had a choice. They could have negotiated. They could have found another way. Instead, they chose extinction. They chose to teach the galaxy that aggressive species like humanity couldn't be allowed to exist." The suns flared again, their cores beginning the chain reaction that would soon tear them apart from within. On the planets below, day and night cycles began to blur as both stars pumped out increasing amounts of lethal radiation. Today they learned that extinction works both ways. Dr. Mendez looked up from her calculations. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual. The hegemony is broadcasting on emergency frequencies, not evacuation orders, but something else. They're transmitting our ship's design specifications." "What?" "Somehow, they've reverse-engineered our stealth systems, our weapon signatures. They're sending the data to every allied species in the galaxy. It's like—" She paused, horrified realization dawning. "It's like they're treating us as a virus, sharing information so the entire galaxy can develop countermeasures." Nightingale felt something cold settle in her chest. Even facing extinction, the hegemony was ensuring that humanity's last weapon would only work once. They were sacrificing themselves to make certain that no other human ship could repeat this attack. How long until the transmission reaches the other allied worlds? At quantum relay speeds? 12 hours. Maybe less. Nightingale closed her eyes and felt the weight of command settle around her like a burial shroud. The hegemony was forcing her hand, ensuring that if humanity was to have its revenge, It would have to be swift and total. "Set course for the Vorthak system," she ordered. "Then the Zalani colonies. Then every hegemony world we can reach before they adapt to our technology." The crew felt her decision through the neural link. Not anger now, but grim inevitability. The galaxy had chosen to see humanity as a plague that needed to be eliminated. Perhaps it was time to prove them right. The Thanatos began to move, leaving behind 2 dying suns and 40 billion souls who would never see another dawn. The Vorthak system died in silence. 3 gas giants and 17 moons, home to the hegemonies, primary industrial complex, simply stopped. One moment they were there, massive worlds spinning in their ancient dance around a stable star. The next, they were expanding clouds of superheated plasma as their sun collapsed into a brief, brilliant supernova before guttering out into a neutron star. Captain Nightingale watched from the bridge of the Thanatos as reality bent around there. Dark matter manipulators. Each stellar assassination was becoming easier as Dr. Mendez refined her calculations, learning to read the quantum signatures of different star types like a musician reading sheet music. 7 systems down, Commander, Vex reported, his voice hollow. Estimated casualties, 143 billion souls. The numbers had lost meaning somewhere around the Third World. Nightingale found herself thinking not in terms of individual lives, but in terms of strategic objectives. Industrial capacity eliminated, military assets neutralized, alliance infrastructure degraded. It was easier that way. The alternative was madness. "Status on the hegemony response?" she asked. Lieutenant Torvin's fingers danced across his console. "They're adapting faster than we anticipated. The outer colonies have developed quantum scramblers that interfere with our stellar resonance patterns. We can still kill their suns, but it takes longer now. Hours instead of minutes. Hours. Long enough for evacuation fleets to escape. Long enough for desperate scientists to attempt countermeasures. Long enough for guilt to creep into the spaces between tactical decisions. Captain," Dr. Mendez spoke up from her station, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the hegemony. Core worlds. They appear to be constructing something. Multiple somethings. The power requirements are enormous." The main display shifted to show deep space sensor readings from the heart of hegemony territory. Massive construction projects were underway around dozens of stars. Artificial structures on a scale that dwarfed even humanity's most ambitious engineering projects. Fleet killers, Nightingale realized. They're building weapons designed specifically to hunt ships like ours. The neural link carried her crew's shared understanding. The hegemony wasn't just adapting, they were evolving, learning from each attack to develop new strategies and technologies. Give them enough time, and they would find a way to stop the Thanatos permanently. How long until those weapons are operational? Based on their construction rate? Perhaps 10 days. Maybe less if they're willing to sacrifice safety protocols. 10 days to complete humanity's revenge before the galaxies combined could bring their dark ship to heel. Nightingale felt the weight of extinction pressing down on her shoulders, not just her own species' extinction, but the extinction she was now visiting upon others. "Plot a course for the remaining hegemony core worlds," she ordered. "All of them. We hit them simultaneously." Vex turned in his chair. "Captain, that's impossible. Even with our metacortex drive, we can't be in 47 systems at once. We don't have to be." Nightingale stood and moved to the ship's central console, where the most classified systems waited behind quantum locks. "Reaper, initiate the Omega contingency." The AI's response carried a note of something almost like concern. "Captain, the Omega contingency has never been tested at this scale. The probability of catastrophic system failure is acceptable. Execute." Deep in the ship's core, experimental technology that pushed the boundaries of physics itself began to activate. The Thanatos had been built with capabilities that went beyond conventional warfare. It was designed to be humanity's ultimate expression of controlled destruction, a weapon that could operate on cosmic scales. "What's happening?" Mendez asked as reality began to shimmer around them. "We're about to become 47 ships," Nightingale explained. "Quantum superposition on a macro scale. Each instance will target a different system simultaneously." The universe fractured. Suddenly, the Thanatos existed in 47 different quantum states at once, each one real, each one carrying the full fury of humanity's final weapon. 47 Captain Nightingales gave the same order at the same moment across 47 different star systems. Fire! Across the galaxy, hegemony suns began to die. Reality screamed. Captain Nightingale felt her consciousness fragmenting across 47 simultaneous existences as the Thanatos executed its impossible assault. Through the neural link, her crew experienced the sensation of being torn apart and reconstructed at the quantum level, their minds scattered across multiple versions of themselves. In the Kethmoran secondary system, Nightingale Prime watched. A red giant collapse into a white dwarf in mere minutes, its planets flash-frozen as their sun suddenly stopped providing heat. In the Vorthak Industrial Complex, Nightingale 7 observed gas giant refineries exploding as their host star went supernova. In the Hegemony Capital Sector, Nightingale 23 felt savage satisfaction as the Alliance's seat of power vanished in a burst of cosmic radiation. Each quantum iteration carried its own tactical situation, its own moral weight. Some hegemony worlds were purely military installations. Those deaths came easily. Others held billions of civilians, their cities full of families who had never fired a shot at humanity. Those deaths, those were harder to bear. Status report. She managed to gasp across all 47 quantum states simultaneously. Dr. Mendez's fragmented consciousness processed data from across the galaxy. Stellar cascade successful in 39 systems. The remaining 8 have implemented quantum scramblers that are disrupting our resonance patterns. They're learning, Captain. Each attack teaches them how to defend against the next one. Through the quantum link, Nightingale felt the weight of cosmic genocide settling on her soul. The hegemony body count had passed 400 billion and was still climbing. Entire species, the Jelani, the Korth, the silicon mines of Proxima Tertius, had been wiped from existence because they had allied themselves with humanity's destroyers. "Captain," Commander Vex's voice reached her from across multiple realities. "I'm detecting massive power buildups in the 8 surviving systems. They're not just defending themselves. They're preparing a counterattack." The tactical displays showed the truth of his words. The hegemony's remaining worlds had linked their defenses into a unified network, their combined fleet elements forming a battle formation unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Over 10,000 ships, supported by orbital battle stations, and powered by the industrial output of 8 entire star systems. "They're going to try to trace our quantum signature," Mendez reported. "If they can lock onto our base reality, they can collapse the superposition and force us back into normal space. Can they do it? Unknown. This technology is beyond anything we've encountered before. But, Captain, the strain on our systems is enormous. The metacortex drive was never designed for this level of quantum distribution. We're literally breaking. The laws of physics and reality is starting to push back." As if to emphasize her point, alarms began sounding across all 47 quantum states. The ship's exotic matter containment was becoming unstable, dark energy fluctuations threatening to tear the Thanatos apart from within. "How long can we maintain this state?" "Minutes. Maybe less." Nightingale felt the weight of decision settling around her like a collapsing star. She could retreat now, consolidate their quantum signature back into a single reality, and flee to fight another day. They had already dealt the hegemony a blow that would echo across galactic history: the destruction of 39 star systems, the elimination of nearly 500 billion beings. But the 8 surviving systems were already sharing tactical data, already developing countermeasures. If she let them escape, they would become the seed of a new alliance, one prepared specifically to hunt down and destroy humanity's last weapon. "Reaper," she called out to the ship's AI, "can you calculate the probability of success if we attempt to destroy the remaining 8 systems simultaneously?" Probability of mission success, 67.3%. Probability of ship survival, 12.8%. Probability of crew survival, 3.1%, 3%. The same odds humanity had faced when the hegemony's bombardment began. "Do it!" she ordered. "All power to the Stellar. Resonance weapons. Target all 8 systems for simultaneous cascade. On my mark." The crew felt her decision through the neural link and responded with quiet professionalism. They had volunteered for this mission, knowing it was likely a one-way trip. The only question was whether they could complete it before their own technology tore them apart. Mark. Across 8 star systems, quantum fire reached out to touch the hearts of suns. And in the depths of space, the Thanatos began to die alongside its enemies. The universe collapsed inward. Captain Nightingale felt her consciousness snapping back together, like a rubber band released under tension. 47 quantum realities, merging into one with a violence that threatened to tear her mind apart. Around her, the bridge of the Thanatos flickered between states of existence, sometimes solid, sometimes translucent, sometimes not there at all. "Report," she gasped, tasting blood where she had bitten through her tongue. 8 systems destroyed, Dr. Mendez managed, her enhanced neural interface sparking with quantum feedback. "Complete stellar cascade achieved. The hegemony core worlds are gone." The main view screen showed the aftermath, expanding shells of plasma where star systems had once existed, their light already racing toward distant worlds that would see the destruction years from now. In less than an hour, the Thanatos had eliminated over 600 billion sentient beings and rendered 47 star systems uninhabitable for the next million years. Ship status? Commander Vex pulled himself upright, his station smoking. From quantum overload. Metacortex drive is offline. Dark matter containment is failing. We have maybe 10 minutes before the exotic matter breaches containment and takes half the galaxy with it. 10 minutes. Nightingale felt a strange calm settle over her as the reality of their situation became clear. They had succeeded beyond their wildest projections. The hegemony was functionally extinct, their alliance shattered, their industrial base reduced to expanding clouds of ionized gas. But success had come at a price that was about to be paid in full. Any word from the outer colonies? Human survivors? Lieutenant Torvin, his console flickering with dying electronics, managed a weak smile. Actually, yes. The destruction of the hegemony core worlds has caused their remaining fleet elements to retreat. Several human colonies are reporting that their siege has been lifted. We've bought them time. Time. The most precious gift one could give to a dying species. Perhaps those scattered survivors would rebuild. Perhaps they would learn from humanity's mistakes and find a way to coexist with the galaxy's other species. Or perhaps they would follow the Thanatos' example and burn the cosmos until nothing remained but ash and regret. "Captain," Dr. Mendez spoke up, her voice carrying an odd note of discovery. "I'm detecting something unusual. The quantum cascade from our attacks has triggered a resonance effect in nearby stellar regions. It's spreading." The tactical display lit up with a map showing their position relative to the galactic core. Waves of quantum disturbance were racing outward from each destroyed system, creating interference patterns that were affecting stellar formation across thousands of light years. What does that mean? It means we've done more than destroy the hegemony. We've fundamentally altered the quantum structure of this region of space. New stars won't form here for eons. Maybe never. Nightingale stared at the display, watching. The expanding zones of cosmic sterility spread like an infection through the galaxy's spiral arms. They hadn't just committed genocide, they had committed cosmicide, scarring the universe itself in their quest for revenge. "Sir," Torvin called out, "incoming transmission. It's from Ambassador Kethmoran," the same serpentine figure, who had announced humanity's extinction, appeared on their view screen, but now his scaled features were haggard with defeat. Behind him, emergency lighting cast his shelter in hellish red shadows. "Captain Nightingale," he began, his translator, struggling with words that had no equivalent in his language. You have won. The Hegemony Alliance is broken. Our worlds are dead. Our fleets scattered. In the name of the few survivors who remain, I formally surrender to whatever terms you might offer." Nightingale felt her crew's emotions through. The neural link, exhaustion, satisfaction, and underneath it all, a bone-deep weariness that came from having seen too much death. They had become the very thing the galaxy had feared humanity might become. A species capable of extinction level, violence on a cosmic scale. "Ambassador," she replied, "there are no terms. There is no negotiation. You taught the galaxy that some species are too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Consider this lesson learned." She closed the channel and turned to her crew. "How long?" 5 minutes until containment failure, Vex reported. 5 minutes to contemplate what they had accomplished. The hegemony was extinct. Humanity was avenged. The galaxy would remember this day as the moment when a single ship proved that even the mightiest alliance could be brought low by sufficient determination and advanced technology. But it would also remember it as the day the stars themselves began to die. "Any regrets?" she asked her crew through the neural link. The responses came back as a mixture of thoughts and emotions: grief for their lost homeworld, satisfaction at completed revenge, fear of what came after death, and underneath it all, a quiet pride in having served humanity to the very end. "None," Commander Vex said aloud. "We are the last light of our species, and we burned bright enough to be seen across the galaxy." The containment field collapsed. For one brilliant instant, the Thanatos became a miniature star, its exotic matter interacting with normal space-time in ways that would puzzle physicists for millennia to come. Then it was gone, leaving behind only expanding waves of quantum disruption and the silence of dead suns. But across the galaxy, in hidden colonies and scattered survivor ships, humanity endured. And they would remember the day the Black Ship burned their enemies' suns, the day their species proved that extinction was a game two could play, the day they taught the cosmos the true meaning of consequence. In the end, perhaps that was enough.